Welcome back. You're listening to WUSB Stony Brook. You just listened to Passion of the Heist, Part 1 by I Am Abomination, and their latest single off of Passion of the Heist, Part 2, called Ultra Terrestrial. I'm now joined by one of the members of I Am Abomination. How about you introduce yourself and tell us kind of a quick history of the band? You guys been around for a while, too.
Yeah. My name's Phil. I sing for the band. We started in maybe 2006 or 2007, touring by like 2007 or 2008, and did that for like 5 years, and then turned into a studio project, and now we kind of just release records on the internet.
So, like I said, you guys been around since 2009, so it's almost 10 years you guys been a band. But in like the past 6 years, you guys have been kind of quiet. You've been working on side projects. You tried something with Native. That fell apart real quickly. Then you had the band chapter. Man, that turned out pretty well. But now you guys came back together and started to write this new album. So what kind of brought you guys back together, especially after this long hiatus?
It's kind of hard to say. We've kind of been a band that has long cycles, with usually even a couple of years between records. And the last time we released a record, we had been out for like 2 or 3 years, and it was received really well. And we kind of doubled our platform, and we're still somehow getting new fans this late into our careers. And it had just been time. I think I'd gone out and done other things and spent a bunch of effort and energy elsewhere, and saw it was out there. And Brandon and Nick had both, progressed pretty rapidly in their personal lives as well. And then I think everyone just finally got calm enough to where it was like, okay, now we have the effort and the time resources to do that. So
again, with this kind of like long period between releases, did you guys have kind of like any rust, or did the writing process come back naturally and you guys kind of got that sound back easily?
Oh man, we love our rest. We're kind of bad about that. Usually when we go to write a record, Nick might have, 6 or 7 song ideas in a program called Guitar Pro. But for the most part, those will all be changed and be almost unidentifiable. So we kind of just really start writing maybe a month or 2 before records. And then as for the vocals, almost any line that I've sang on the last 2 records, I learned maybe 10 minutes before I track them. Nick kind of writes everything, and then I stand in front of a mic and he tries to sing it to me, and he'll program like piano parts out to show me melodies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's weird how like that type of stuff, especially with the vocals, just come together last minute. Especially when I talk to a whole bunch of other people about it.
Yeah, and it's something that I've had to learn to trust him on, because I've gone back on certain songs and said like, okay, let's try and do this a different way. Like on the last record, I think I wrote the chorus and most of the vocals for the 99, and through doing that, I kind of was just like, by the end of it, I was like, okay, just trust Nick. I like the song, I like how it came out, but I prefer to work that way now, honestly.
So for people who may not know you, how about you kind of give an overview of what the story of Passion of the Heist is?
Passion of the Heist is a modern day apocalyptic story referencing aliens as God in some sort of way. You'll have to read the lyrics to kind of make sense of that yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just a project that when we did it as an EP, we really had hoped, like before that even came out, we had hoped we were going to get to revisit that as a full length. But yeah, it's kind of just like an alien sci-fi apocalypse, some sort of religious story. And that all comes from the mind of our bassist, Brandon. He's concepted almost all of that. And I think when we did the original Passion of the Heist, Nick and I had like a 14-day deadline, and we screwed off for like the first 5 of it. or just were really behind for the first 5. And Brandon actually came in and wrote the lyrics to that record in I want to say 5 or 6 days.
So he kind of storyboarded kind of the whole concept and story. Yeah,
and same goes for all the art and most of the imagery that goes along with it, right down to merch designs and online assets. He powerhouses all of that.
So if his new record kind of continues off of that EP, I assume, right?
Yeah, and there's overlaying stuff and intersecting stuff, and there's references from concept records that we've done that weren't related to this concept record that tie in as well, and yeah, it's really cool like that. He's a genius in my mind.
So one of the cool aspects of this record, I think, is that you brought in Chris Turner from Ocean's 8, Alaska to write and record the drums. So what is it like working with him on this project?
Oh, man, that's been sick. It was something we've always wanted to work with a drummer of that caliber, and Nick has done some work with that group, and they've been pretty close for some time now. So when we were talking about who we would want to do that, because we haven't had real drums for, a while. But it's just been awesome. When we had pre-production for the song and we were tracking vocals, the drums from him hadn't been turned in yet. And the day that Nick got those drums and swapped them out, it was just a whole new song.
Kind of gave him his own kind of fingerprint, per se, to the song, kind of to the album.
Yeah, and I think the fact that him and Nick have worked so closely together in the past made it really easy for him to write with a different group, not his band, but still working with Nick.
Yeah, especially because of kind of two bands are a bit different genre-wise. You guys are a bit more, I guess, technical and progressive than Ocean's 8, Alaska, because they're a bit more on the metalcore side. Not saying we're not technical or anything, but you can definitely put your two genres apart, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that I think some people might make that acknowledgement, but for me, in a group like this with these musicians, everyone in the group is more technically capable than I am. So I'm usually just stoked to be there.
So what are some things about the first Passion of the Heist that people may not know about?
We did it to settle a contract dispute initially. Or we were our old label was folding or turning into a management thing or something like that, but we still owed them a record, and we knew we were going to want to do a full-length self-release after that, so we offered them an EP, to fulfill our last record with them, and that EP just ended up being Passion of the Heist. It was recorded in a studio that was a couple 100 square feet maybe.
So, again, this being a part 2 record, did you guys kind of go back to the first one and try to implement certain elements from that EP into the new one? Or are there some new influences that you brought in too, especially since it's been 7 or so years?
For me, definitely. I've definitely gone back to that record a bunch, and I've tried to pick apart what I can do better, what I really want to keep, what serves the purpose of the story in general, at least stylistically. For Nick, in terms of writing and how things come out sonically, he works so much as an audio engineer, and he's constantly helping people write their songs. So I just don't think he really ever runs out of inspiration or progression,
His ideas just flow.
Yeah. It's crazy to sit down and watch that kid work. It's gnarly. He can sit down and be at scratch and come up with a cool verse and chorus in an hour, 2 hours.
So you guys are now an independent artist, and going to this record, you don't have any label or anything. So what are some challenges that you guys face so far?
When we first became unsigned, it was the initial readiness of a record, like all of the things that a label facilitates, like a lot of press and packaging and distribution and placement and stuff like that. That was really challenging. I think the freedoms of it definitely outweigh the burden. And I think the music industry is going to continuously change until it just is best for the artist and the listener. Because right now it's like okay for the artist and the listener. Well, it's kind of bad for the artist. It's okay for the listener, and it's great for the labels. But I think with how we've chosen to do this record, like with a crowdfunding campaign, I think that's going to open up, and is continuing to open up so many doors for people who have a good idea, who know how to execute it, but just might not have the capital. And if they have a dedicated group of fans that have a vested interest in seeing that record happen, it'll happen. I just think that's really cool.
So what went into setting up this crowdfunding campaign that you have going on right now?
That's also Brandon. He's been working on this for about 4 or 5 months now. He's had like each individual day of the last like 3 weeks planned for that long. But it's a lot of that. It's a lot of content creation, online activity, letting our fans know that we do appreciate them, and showing that appreciation with interaction. It's been a lot to you have to kind of like think of ways to incentivize people who might be on the fence, and that's been a bit of a challenge, but it's all stuff that's fun to work out.
With this record, what are maybe some small aspects that people should listen for when it does finally release?
The post-production I am particularly excited for. It's there's an intro to the last Passion of the first Passion of the Heist.
Yeah,
that was kind of like a little mini sound movie.
Yep,
kind of.
I played that. Again, I played the whole EP, and I was listening to it. I was like, if people are turning on to the radio right now, we're probably like, what's going on?
Oh, speaking of, that's something I can say about the first Passion record that people might not know. The guy in that like intro is our friend, and the slam you hear after he screams the loudest time was actually him jumping like 3 feet into the air, 4 feet in the air, and like laying his body sideways in the air and just landing on hardwood.
Oh, that's dedication right there.
Yeah, he's a trooper.
I think another cool thing from that record that people may not know is that it actually got into Rock Band when that was a big thing.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That had like the double bass version for I think it was for Examination. But what's it like to have like your music and kind of the musical game of kind of like that year?
Dude, it was gnarly. Like, one, you don't think something like that's ever going to happen to your band, and it was just cool to have happen. And two, it was really funny to watch Nick play that song. Because I don't know if he's beat it yet. I don't want to put him on blast or anything like that.
That's really fun. It's like, now just pick up the regular guitar and just do it.
Yeah. It's definitely easier for him to do that than play the game, that's for sure. He's really good at Guitar Hero, though.
So how about you just share where people can support you, keep up to date, and find your music?
Facebook is obviously a big one, just I'm Abomination. Our Twitter, I think, is I'm Abomination. Our Instagram, I think, is I'm Abomination Music. And our YouTube channel, I believe, is I'm Abomination Music. I should really know those things by now, huh?
And where can people check out your crowdfunding campaign?
Oh, it'll be the link in the bio of any of our social medias, and I'm pretty sure anyone in the band as well.
Okay. I actually forgot to ask one thing. Do you guys have planned any tours or anything to bring this kind of album to life on the road?
I'm not going to say that it hasn't been talked about. When we first stopped touring, it was partly because everyone was dead inside and we spent a lot of money on gas. And now, like, just doing something like that it's a big expense. So we
Yeah.
haven't taken it off the table. We would love to do like some sort of fest things or anything in that nature or in that light, but definitely nothing like concrete. And it's just something that's up in the air. I
Yeah.
know everyone in the group would love to do it.
It's just something
It's
that
just
will
a
take time.
logistics thing. Yeah, we live in 3 different states. The drummer for this record is in a different country.
Well, thank you for joining me and talking about the new record and the band.
Dude,
good luck
no problem. Thanks
for
for
you
having
for the crowdfunding campaign, and hopefully this record's going to do real well.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, talk to you soon.
All right, later, dude.